Evan Marshall thought it was just another routine flight to Denver until he stepped onto the plane and locked eyes with the woman who shattered his heart 4 years ago. But the shock of seeing Alyssa again was nothing compared to what sat beside her in the cockpit. A little boy with green eyes that mirrored his own. In that frozen moment, Evan's entire world collapsed and rebuilt itself, because the son he never knew existed was staring right back at him. She'd tried to tell him once, with a letter that never arrived, and now fate had thrown them together 30,000 feet in the air with nowhere to run and a truth that couldn't stay buried. What Evan didn't know was that this accidental reunion would force them both to confront buried secrets, rebuild shattered trust, and decide if they had the courage to reclaim the family they were denied. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me, have you ever discovered a life-changing secret by pure chance? Drop your city in the comments below. The morning sun barely broke through the clouds as Evan Marshall grabbed his carry-on from the overhead compartment. He'd taken this flight 100 times, Atlanta to Denver, same airline, same routine. His construction project in Colorado needed him on site for the next week, and he'd packed light. Just another Tuesday. He shuffled down the jet bridge with the other passengers, mind already running through his schedule. Meeting at 10, site inspection at 2. Maybe catch up with Mark for dinner if the day didn't run too long. The flight attendant smiled at him as he approached the aircraft door. Welcome aboard. Seat 12A? That's me. Evan nodded, stepping through the entrance. He paused at the cockpit door, glancing inside out of habit. He always liked seeing the pilots at work, all those buttons and screens, the organized chaos of keeping a plane in the air. Then his heart stopped. The woman in the captain's chair turned her head slightly, checking something on the instrument panel. Her profile was unmistakable, the curve of her jaw, the way she tucked her hair behind her ear, the small scar near her temple from a childhood bike accident she'd told him about years ago. Alyssa. His Alyssa. No, not his. Not anymore. Not for 4 years. She glanced up and their eyes met. Her brown eyes went wide, her lips parted. For one frozen second, the entire world contracted to just the two of them, separated by 3 feet and 4 years of silence. Then Evan saw him. A little boy sat in the jump seat beside her, tiny pilot headphones around his neck, clutching a toy airplane. He couldn't have been more than 4 years old. His skin was lighter than Alyssa's, a warm brown. His hair formed soft curls against his forehead, and his eyes, God, his eyes, they were green. The same shade of green Evan saw every morning in the mirror, the same unusual color his grandmother had, the same eyes that made people do double takes because they seemed to catch the light differently. The boy looked at him with open curiosity, then smiled. Evan's lungs forgot how to work. Sir? The flight attendant touched his elbow gently. You're blocking the aisle. Evan's voice came out hoarse. Sorry. He forced his feet to move. One step, another. The cockpit door closed behind him with a soft click that sounded like thunder in his ears. His hands trembled as he found his seat. He sat down without looking at the other passengers, without storing his bag, without doing anything except staring at the seat in front of him. A son. She had a son. He had green eyes. Evan's throat tightened. His chest felt like someone had wrapped steel bands around it and pulled them tight. The math was simple and devastating. 4 years old. 4 years since they'd broken up. The timing fit perfectly. He pressed his palms against his thighs, trying to steady himself. Maybe he was wrong. Maybe the boy just happened to have green eyes. Lots of people had green eyes. It didn't mean anything, except it meant everything. The way Alyssa had looked at him. Shocked, guilty, afraid. She knew he'd seen. She knew what he was thinking. The flight attendant made her way down the aisle, checking overhead bins. Sir, you'll need to stow your bag. Evan looked down. His carry-on still sat at his feet. Right, sorry. He shoved it under the seat in front of him with shaking hands. The engines hummed to life. Through the window, the ground crew signaled to the pilots. Somewhere above him, Alyssa sat at the controls, preparing for takeoff. Did her hands shake too? Was she as rattled as he was? A woman in her 50s settled into the seat beside him. First time flying? What? You look nervous. She smiled kindly. Don't worry. Statistically, it's the safest way to travel. Evan managed a weak nod. Thanks. If only she knew. The plane began to taxi. Evan closed his eyes, but that made it worse. Behind his eyelids, all he could see was that little boy. The green eyes, the curious smile, the toy airplane clutched in small hands. His phone buzzed in his pocket. A text from Mark. Landing okay? Let me know when you're settled. Evan couldn't reply. His fingers wouldn't cooperate. The captain's voice came over the intercom. Smooth, professional, controlled. Alyssa's voice, though she didn't identify herself by name. "Good morning, folks. This is your captain speaking. We've been cleared for takeoff. Flight time to Denver will be approximately 2 hours and 40 minutes. Weather looks good. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight." She sounded exactly the same, confident, calm, like she hadn't just had her entire world tipped sideways, or maybe she had 4 years to get used to it. The plane accelerated down the runway. Evan gripped the armrests. He'd never been afraid of flying before, but right now every instinct screamed at him to get off this aircraft, to run, to find somewhere quiet where he could think. The wheels lifted off the ground. Atlanta dropped away beneath them. There was no running now. The first hour passed in a blur. Evan stared out the window without seeing anything. Clouds drifted by. The sun caught the wing just right, turning it silver. None of it registered. A sun. The words kept repeating in his mind like a song stuck on loop. He tried to remember the exact timeline of their breakup. They dated for 2 years. She'd been 25, working toward her commercial pilot's license. He'd been 27, climbing the ladder at his engineering firm. They'd been happy. At least he'd thought they were happy. Then one day she'd said she needed space, that things were moving too fast, that she wasn't sure what she wanted anymore. He'd been crushed. He'd asked if there was someone else. She'd said no, just that she needed time to figure things out. He'd respected that, even though it killed him. He'd moved to a new apartment across town, giving her the space she'd asked for. He'd waited for a call that never came. After 3 months, he'd started trying to move on. He'd gone on a few dates that went nowhere. His heart wasn't in it. Eventually, he'd accepted that Alyssa was gone and focused on work instead. He'd never imagined she'd been pregnant. Why hadn't she told him? The question burned through him. He'd never been the kind of guy who ran from responsibility. If she'd called, if she'd sent a letter, if she'd shown up at his door, he would have been there. No question, no hesitation. But she hadn't. She'd raised their son alone for 4 years. Anger flickered beneath the shock. Then guilt smothered it. Maybe she'd tried to tell him. Maybe he'd missed something. Maybe... "Excuse me, sir?" A younger flight attendant stopped beside his row. Her name tag read, "Emily. Would you like anything to drink?" Evan shook his head. "No, thanks." "You sure? You look like you could use some water." He accepted the cup she offered, more to make her leave than because he wanted it. But she lingered, glancing toward the cockpit with a warm smile. "Your captain today is amazing," Emily said to the woman beside Evan. "Best pilot I've flown with. And she's got her little boy up there with her during the pre-flight, so cute." The woman beside Evan perked up. "Oh? How old?" "4. His name's Noah. He's obsessed with planes, just like his mama." Emily laughed. "Earlier he asked me if his daddy flies planes too." Evan's water cup crumpled in his grip. Emily didn't notice. "I told him I didn't know, but maybe someday he will. Sweet kid." She moved on down the aisle. Evan sat frozen. Noah. The boy's name was Noah, and he'd asked about his father. Did Noah know about him? Did Alyssa tell their son anything? Or did the boy think his father just didn't exist? The woman beside Evan leaned over. "Are you all right? You've gone pale." "Fine," Evan managed. "Just not used to flying." She didn't look convinced, but she returned to her magazine. Evan forced himself to breathe slowly, in through the nose, out through the mouth. The technique his therapist had taught him years ago when anxiety tried to swallow him whole. He had to talk to Alyssa as soon as they landed, before she disappeared again. But what would he say? "Hey, is that kid mine?" That sounded insane. Accusatory, like he was challenging her. "Why didn't you tell me?" That was better, but still loaded with hurt. Maybe he should just ask if they could talk. Keep it simple. Let her explain. If she wanted to explain. The plane hit a patch of light turbulence. Nothing serious. Just enough to make the wings dip slightly, the seatbelt sign to ping on. Evan found himself staring at the cockpit door, imagining Alyssa's hands on the controls. She'd always been so good at staying calm under pressure. When they dated, he'd loved watching her prepare for her flight exams. The way she studied every procedure, memorized every emergency protocol. She'd been determined to be the best pilot she could be, and now she was. Captain at 29. That was impressive. Had she done it alone? Or had someone helped her? Maybe she'd met someone else. Maybe Noah had a stepfather. The thought made Evan's stomach turn. The turbulence smoothed out. The plane climbed higher into clear sky. Through the window, the landscape below transformed into geometric patterns. Farms, roads, tiny towns connected by thin highways. Evan had always loved flying because it gave perspective. From up here, problems looked smaller. Life looked manageable. Not today. Today, 30,000 feet felt like both too much distance and not nearly enough. The cockpit door opened. Evan's head snapped up so fast his neck cracked. Alyssa stepped out, her uniform crisp, her expression carefully neutral. She didn't look his direction, didn't acknowledge his presence at all. She walked straight to the bathroom at the front of the plane. Evan's pulse hammered. This was his chance. He could stand up, wait by the bathroom door, force a conversation. She couldn't avoid him forever, but his legs wouldn't move. What if she refused to talk? What if she told him to leave her alone? What if... The bathroom door opened. Alyssa stepped out. For half a second her gaze swept the cabin. It landed on him. Their eyes met. The world stopped again. She looked tired, scared, like she wanted to say something but couldn't find the words. Then she turned and walked back to the cockpit without a word. The door closed. Evan slumped in his seat. The woman beside him had fallen asleep. Everyone around him looked peaceful, oblivious, lost in their books or their phones or their thoughts. He was the only one whose life had just detonated. The rest of the flight crawled by. Evan counted the minutes. He rehearsed what he'd say. He imagined a dozen different scenarios, each one ending differently. In some, Alyssa broke down and apologized. In others, she told him to stay away. In a few, she admitted Noah wasn't his after all. That last possibility should have been a relief. It wasn't, because even though his rational mind said not to jump to conclusions, his heart already knew the truth. That little boy was his son. Finally, the plane began its descent. Denver's skyline appeared through the clouds, the Rocky Mountains rising like sentinels beyond the city. The landing was smooth, perfect. Of course it was. Alyssa had always been good at what she did. The seatbelt sign pinged off. Passengers stood, reaching for bags, checking phones, eager to get on with their days. Evan stayed seated until the aisle cleared. He had to be last, had to make sure he caught Alyssa before she left. The woman beside him smiled as she gathered her things. "Hope your project goes well in Denver." "Thanks," Evan said automatically. He hadn't told her about any project. He must have mentioned it earlier without remembering. The cabin emptied. Evan stood on shaky legs and moved toward the exit. The cockpit door was closed. Emily stood by the main door, thanking passengers as they disembarked. "Have a wonderful day. Thanks for flying with us." Evan paused. "The captain, is she coming out?" Emily blinked. "Oh, she usually waits until everyone's off. Paperwork and all that. Can I help you with something?" "No, thanks." He stepped off the plane into the jet bridge. His chest felt tight again. What if Alyssa waited until he was long gone? What if she used a different exit? He couldn't let that happen. Instead of heading straight to the terminal, Evan stopped just outside the gate area. He leaned against the wall, watching the door, waiting. Other passengers flowed past him toward baggage claim. A few gave him curious looks. He ignored them. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Finally, the door opened. Alyssa emerged, her pilot's cap tucked under one arm, her small rolling suitcase behind her. Noah walked beside her, his hand in hers, chattering about something Evan couldn't hear. Alyssa saw him immediately. She froze mid-step. Noah looked up at her, then followed her gaze to Evan. "Mama?" the little boy said. "Who's that?" Evan's heart shattered and reformed in the same instant. Noah's voice was high and clear, innocent, curious. Alyssa's grip on Noah's hand tightened. For a moment, Evan thought she might turn around and walk the other way. Instead, she took a deep breath and walked toward him. Each step felt like an eternity. When she stopped in front of him, they were close enough that Evan could see the flecks of gold in her brown eyes, could smell the faint lavender scent of her shampoo that he'd never forgotten. "Evan," she said quietly. "Alyssa." Noah tugged on her hand. "Mama, is this your friend?" She looked down at their son. "Noah, baby, can you sit right here for 1 minute? Stay where Mama can see you, okay?" She guided him to a nearby seat. Noah climbed up, swinging his legs, still clutching his toy airplane. Alyssa turned back to Evan. Her expression was guarded, defensive, but underneath, he saw fear. "I know what you're thinking," she said. Evan's voice came out rough. "Do you? Evan, is he mine?" The question hung between them like a physical thing, heavy, impossible to ignore. Alyssa closed her eyes. When she opened them again, tears gathered at the corners. "Yes." The word was barely a whisper, but it hit Evan like a shout. His knees almost gave out. He reached for the wall to steady himself. "Why didn't you tell me?" His voice cracked. Why didn't you? I tried. Her words came fast, desperate. I sent you a letter 4 years ago, as soon as I found out, but it came back unopened, returned to sender, and I thought, she swallowed hard, I thought you didn't want to know. Evan stared at her. What? The letter came back, Evan. I have it. I kept it. I thought you saw my name and refused to accept it. I never got any letter. His mind raced. I moved apartments right after we broke up. Maybe it went to the wrong address. Maybe I sent it to the place we shared, the one you stayed in after I left. I was only there another month. Evan's hands shook. Then I moved. I had to. Too many memories. Alyssa pressed a hand to her mouth. Oh my God. I never got it, Evan repeated. His voice rose. Do you really think I would have ignored something like that? That I would have just walked away from my own kid? I didn't know what to think. Tears spilled down her cheeks now. You didn't respond. Weeks went by. I was scared and pregnant and alone, and I thought you'd made your choice. I didn't make any choice because I didn't know there was one to make. They both stopped, breathing hard, aware suddenly of how loud they'd gotten. A few travelers glanced their way. Noah had stopped swinging his legs. He watched them with wide eyes. Alyssa wiped her face quickly. Not here, please, not in front of him. Evan forced himself to lower his voice. Then where? Because I'm not leaving, Alyssa. Not until we figure this out. She looked at him for a long moment. Something shifted in her expression. Resignation, maybe, or exhaustion. There's a cafe, she said, past security, near gate C15. Can you meet me there in 20 minutes? I need to take Noah to my mum first. Your mum's here. She watches him when I fly. Alyssa glanced at Noah. 20 minutes, I promise I'll come back. Evan wanted to argue, wanted to follow her and never let her out of his sight again. But Noah was watching, and the fear in Alyssa's eyes was real. Okay, he said. 20 minutes. Alyssa nodded. She walked back to Noah and took his hand. Come on, baby, Grandma's waiting. As they walked away, Noah looked back over his shoulder at Evan. Their eyes met. Green to green. Then they turned a corner and disappeared into the crowd. Evan stood alone in the middle of the concourse. His entire world turned upside down. He had a son, Noah, 4 years old, and for 4 years, Evan hadn't known he existed. He pulled out his phone with trembling hands and sent Mark a text. Can't meet tonight, something came up, I'll explain later. Then he walked toward gate C15, each step feeling like walking through water. 20 minutes felt like a lifetime. The cafe was small and tucked between 2 gates, the kind of place that served overpriced coffee and stale muffins to tired travelers. Evan bought a black coffee he didn't want and sat at a corner table where he could watch the entrance. His leg bounced under the table. He checked his phone. 18 minutes since Alyssa left, then 19. The coffee grew cold in his hands. What if she didn't come back? What if she'd used those 20 minutes to disappear again? Take Noah and vanish into Denver, change her number, make sure Evan could never find them. He wouldn't blame her. She'd spent 4 years believing he'd rejected them. Why would she trust him now? But she'd looked him in the eye and promised. 22 minutes. 23. Then he saw her. Alyssa walked through the cafe entrance, her pilot's cap gone, her hair pulled into a ponytail. She'd changed out of her uniform jacket into a simple grey sweater. She looked younger without the official attire, more like the woman he'd known 4 years ago. She spotted him and made her way over, movements hesitant, like she was approaching a stranger instead of someone she'd once loved. Evan stood as she reached the table. Old habits. Hi, she said softly. Hi. They sat. The silence stretched between them, heavy with everything unsaid. Finally, Alyssa spoke. My mom lives 15 minutes from the airport. That's why I'm based out of Denver now. So she can help with Noah. Evan nodded. He didn't trust his voice yet. I know you have questions, Alyssa continued, her hands wrapped around the edge of the table like she needed something to hold on to. I'll answer them. All of them. But first, I need you to understand something. What? I really did try to tell you. Her voice shook. That letter, I wrote it the day I took the pregnancy test. I was terrified. We'd been broken up for 2 months, and I didn't know if you'd even want to hear from me. But I thought you deserved to know. Evan's throat tightened. What did it say? That I was pregnant, that I knew the timing was terrible, that I wasn't expecting anything from you, but I wanted you to have the choice to be involved. She looked down at her hands. I checked the mail every day for 2 weeks. Then the letter came back with a stamp on it. Return to sender, addressee unknown. I moved, Evan said again. The words felt hollow, useless. After we broke up, I couldn't stay in that apartment. Everything reminded me of you, so I found a place across town, updated my address with work, with my bank, but I didn't think to tell you because we weren't talking anymore. Yeah. Alyssa's eyes glistened. I thought you'd seen my name on the envelope and refused it, or that you'd moved on purpose so I couldn't find you, and I was so scared and hurt that I convinced myself it was better this way, that Noah and I would be fine on our own. Were you? The question came out sharper than Evan intended. Fine on your own? No. The admission seemed to cost her something. It was hard, really hard. My mom helped as much as she could, but she was still working full-time. I was trying to finish my flight certifications while pregnant, then caring for a newborn while building hours for my commercial license. There were days I didn't think I'd make it. Guilt crashed over Evan like a wave. I should have been there. You didn't know. I should have tried harder to stay in touch. Should have checked on you even after the breakup. Should have... Evan. Alyssa reached across the table, her hand hovering near his but not quite touching. We can't change the past. We can only figure out what happens now. Now. The word hung in the air between them, full of impossible weight. I want to be part of his life, Evan said. The words tumbled out fast, desperate. I know I don't have any right to ask that. I know you've been doing this alone for 4 years and you've probably built a whole life that doesn't include me, but that's my son, Alyssa. And I missed everything. His first word, his first steps. 4 years of birthdays and bedtimes and... His voice cracked. He stopped, pressing his palms against his eyes. When he looked up, Alyssa was crying silently. I'm sorry, she whispered. I'm so sorry you missed all that. If I'd known, if the letter had reached you, it's not your fault. Evan forced the words out. It's nobody's fault. It's just, God, it's such a mess. Yeah. A broken laugh escaped her. It really is. They sat in silence for a moment, the cafe noise washing over them. Someone's phone rang. A barista called out a name. Normal sounds in a world that felt anything but normal. What do we do? Evan asked finally. Alyssa wiped her eyes. I don't know. This isn't something I ever prepared for. I thought I'd never see you again. Did you want to? See me again? She looked at him then, really looked at him. Her gaze traveled over his face like she was memorizing it all over again. Every day, she admitted. I thought about you every single day. Evan's heart stuttered. Then why didn't you try again after the letter came back? Because I was 25 and pregnant and terrified, Alyssa said. And I thought you'd rejected us. I couldn't handle trying again and being rejected a second time, so I told myself it was better to just move forward, build a life for Noah without you in it. Did it work? Sometimes. She smiled sadly. And sometimes Noah would ask about his father, and I'd have to make up stories about why you weren't around. I told him you were away for work, that you loved him, but couldn't be here. I never wanted him to think he wasn't wanted. Evan's chest ached. What did he say? He'd ask when you were coming home. Alyssa's voice broke. And I'd tell him someday. Maybe someday. God, Alyssa. I know. She pressed her hands to her face. I did the best I could. It wasn't perfect, but I tried to give him a good life. I can see that. Evan meant it. He looks happy, healthy. You did an amazing job. Thank you. She lowered her hands. But he still asks about you. Not every day, but enough that I know he feels the absence. Can I meet him? The question burst out before Evan could stop it. Properly, I mean. Not just seeing him in the cockpit. Can I actually talk to him? Alyssa hesitated. Fear flickered across her face. I won't tell him who I am, Evan added quickly. Not yet. Not until you're ready, but I need to talk to him. Even for 5 minutes. Please. She studied him for a long moment. Evan could see the war happening behind her eyes. The protective mother, fighting against the part of her that knew Noah deserved to know his father. There's a park, she said finally. About 10 minutes from my mom's place. Noah loves it. We could meet there this afternoon. You could push him on the swings. Talk to him, see what he's like. Relief flooded through Evan. Thank you. But Evan, Alyssa's expression turned serious. If we do this, you have to be sure. You can't meet him. Let him get attached, and then disappear. He's 4 years old. He won't understand. It'll break his heart. I'm not going anywhere, Evan said firmly. I promise you I'm not disappearing. You say that now. I mean it. They held each other's gaze. Evan tried to pour everything he felt into that look, all the regret and hope and desperate determination to make this right. Finally, Alyssa nodded. Okay, the park, 4 o'clock. I'll text you the address. You still have my number? A faint blush colored her cheeks. I never deleted it. Something warm unfurled in Evan's chest. I never deleted yours either. They stood together. For a moment, they just looked at each other. Two people who'd once meant everything to each other, now trying to navigate an impossible situation. "I'll see you at 4, Alyssa said. "Yeah, 4. She turned to leave, then paused. "Evan? Yeah? I really am sorry for all of it." "Me too." She walked away, disappearing into the airport crowd. Evan sat back down, his legs suddenly unsteady. He pulled out his phone and saw 3 missed calls from Mark. He typed out a quick message. "Can't talk right now. Something huge happened. Will explain when I can." Mark's response came immediately. "You're freaking me out. Are you okay?" Evan stared at the screen. How did he even begin to explain this? "I have a son," he typed. Then he deleted it. Typed it again. Deleted it again. Finally, he just wrote, "I'll call you tonight. Promise." He pocketed his phone and sat in the empty cafe, surrounded by strangers, his whole life rewritten in the span of 2 hours. He had a son, Noah, and in a few hours, he'd actually get to meet him. The park was exactly the kind of place a 4-year-old would love. Colorful play equipment, wide-open grass, tall trees providing shade, a few other families scattered across the area, kids laughing and running while parents watched from benches. Evan arrived 15 minutes early. He couldn't help it. Nervous energy made sitting still impossible, so he'd walked the perimeter twice, trying to calm his racing heart. What did you say to a 4-year-old, especially one who was your son but didn't know it? "Hi, I'm Evan, I like airplanes too." "Hi, I'm a friend of your mum's." "Hi, I'm the father who missed the first 4 years of your life because of a lost letter and terrible timing." None of it sounded right. At exactly 4 o'clock, Alyssa's car pulled into the small parking lot. Evan's breath caught as she got out, then opened the back door. Noah climbed out, wearing a t-shirt with a cartoon airplane on it and light-up sneakers that flashed when he walked. He looked so small, so perfect. Alyssa took Noah's hand and walked toward Evan. She'd changed into jeans and a soft blue shirt. Her hair was down now, falling past her shoulders the way Evan remembered. "Hey," she said as they approached. "Hey." Noah looked up at Evan with those impossible green eyes. "Hi, are you Mama's friend?" Evan crouched down to Noah's level, his knees protesting slightly. "I am. My name's Evan. What's yours?" "Noah Carter." He said it proudly, like he'd just learned his full name recently. "I'm 4. How old are you?" "I'm 31. Noah's eyes went wide. "That's really old." Despite everything, Evan laughed. "Yeah, I guess it is." "Noah, baby, be polite," Alyssa said gently. "Sorry." Noah didn't look particularly sorry. "Do you like airplanes?" "I do, actually." "Me too. I'm going to be a pilot like Mama when I grow up. I already know lots of stuff about planes. Do you want to hear?" "I'd love to." Noah launched into an enthusiastic explanation of different aircraft types, mixing actual facts with creative interpretations that made Evan's heart swell. He talked with his whole body, hands gesturing wildly, occasionally hopping from foot to foot when he got particularly excited. Alyssa watched them with an expression Evan couldn't quite read. "Can you push me on the swings?" Noah asked suddenly. "Mama's arms get tired." "Hey!" Alyssa protested, but she was smiling. "I'd be happy to," Evan said. They walked to the swing set together. Noah climbed onto the seat, gripping the chains with small hands. Evan moved behind him and gave a gentle push. "Higher," Noah called immediately. "Start slow," Alyssa said, standing nearby. "He thinks he's braver than he is." Evan pushed a little harder. Noah squealed with delight, his legs pumping as he tried to make himself go even higher. "Look, Mama, I'm flying." "I see you, baby." For a few minutes, it was almost normal. A father pushing his son on a swing, a mother watching them both with soft eyes. The kind of scene that played out in parks across the country every day. Except nothing about this was normal. "How's he doing?" Evan asked Alyssa quietly as Noah swung. "Good. Really good, actually." She tucked her hair behind her ear, that familiar gesture. "His preschool teacher says he's smart, curious about everything. He gets frustrated sometimes when he can't figure something out, but he doesn't give up easily." Pride colored her voice. "He gets that from you," Evan said. Alyssa looked at him. "Maybe from both of us." The words settled between them, acknowledgement of the shared DNA running through Noah's veins. "Watch this," Noah called. He'd started dragging his feet, slowing himself down. When the swing came to a stop, he jumped off dramatically and landed in a crouch. "Ta-da! Very impressive," Evan said. "Can we go to the slides now?" "Sure, baby." Alyssa held out her hand, but Noah ran ahead, already scrambling up the ladder. She and Evan followed at a slower pace. He has a lot of energy, Evan observed. That's an understatement. Alyssa smiled. Bedtime is a negotiation every single night. What time does he usually go down? 8 when I can manage it, but he'd stay up until midnight if I let him. They reached the base of the slide just as Noah came down, laughing. He immediately ran back to do it again. He's wonderful, Evan said. Alyssa, you've done such an incredible job with him. Her eyes grew bright. Thank you. That means a lot. They stood side by side, watching Noah play. Other parents probably thought they were a couple. A normal family spending an afternoon at the park. If only they knew. What happens now? Evan asked after a while. After today, I mean. Alyssa was quiet for a moment. I don't know. I need time to think. To figure out how to tell Noah. She stopped. This is all happening so fast. I know, but Alyssa, I meant what I said earlier. I'm not going anywhere. Whatever you need, however long it takes, I'll wait. Even if I ask you to be patient, to go slow? Especially then. She looked at him, searching his face. You really mean that? I do, Noah called out from the top of the slide. Evan, Mama, watch me go backwards. Noah, don't you dare. Alyssa started forward, but Noah had already repositioned himself and slid down on his stomach, giggling the entire way. He landed in a heap at the bottom, completely fine and utterly pleased with himself. That was dangerous, baby, Alyssa said, but her tone was more exasperated than angry. But it was fun, Noah protested. Evan couldn't help but smile. He's definitely got your sense of adventure. My sense of... Alyssa shook her head. You're the one who once climbed a construction crane just to see the view. That was one time, and it was worth it. You could have fallen, but I didn't. Their eyes met. For a second, Evan saw past all the hurt and fear to the couple they'd once been. The ones who'd laughed together, challenged each other, fit together like two pieces of a puzzle. Then Noah tugged on Alyssa's sleeve. Mama, I'm thirsty. The moment broke. I have water in the car, Alyssa said. Come on. They walked back across the grass. Noah slipped his hand into Evan's without hesitation, chattering about a bird he'd seen earlier that had funny colors. The simple gesture, that small hand in his, nearly undid Evan completely. This was his son, his child, and until this morning, he hadn't even known Noah existed. At the car, Alyssa pulled out a sippy cup. Noah drank half of it, then handed it back and immediately started running in circles on the grass. He's going to sleep well tonight, Alyssa said. Can I? Evan hesitated. Can I see him again? Tomorrow, maybe. Alyssa watched Noah spin until he got dizzy and fell down laughing. I have a morning flight, but I'm back by early afternoon. If you want to come to my place, you could. My mom will be there. She'll probably want to meet you. Evan's stomach tightened. How does she feel about all this? She doesn't know yet. Not about you showing up. I'll tell her tonight. Alyssa bit her lip. She's going to have questions. I bet. But she's fair. She'll listen. And she loves Noah more than anything, so if she thinks you being in his life is good for him... Alyssa trailed off. And if she doesn't, then we'll figure it out. Alyssa met his eyes. But Evan, she's been his grandmother for 4 years. She's been there for every milestone I couldn't handle alone. Her opinion matters to me. I understand. Noah ran back over, his curls slightly damp with sweat. Mama, can Evan come to our house? I want to show him my planes. Alyssa and Evan exchanged glances. Maybe another day, baby, Alyssa said carefully. Noah's face fell. But I want to show him now. I'd love to see your planes, Evan said, but your mama's right. Another day is better. That way I can spend lots of time looking at them properly. Noah considered this. Okay, but soon, Evan promised. Tomorrow? Noah, Alyssa started. Tomorrow, Evan confirmed, looking at Alyssa for permission. She hesitated, then nodded. Tomorrow afternoon, around 3, I'll text you the address. Thank you. They stood there for another moment, none of them quite ready to leave. Finally, Alyssa scooped Noah up, making him shriek with laughter. Say bye to Evan, baby. Bye, Evan, Noah waved enthusiastically. See you tomorrow. See you tomorrow, buddy. Alyssa carried Noah to the car and buckled him into his car seat. Before she got in herself, she looked back at Evan. He raised his hand in a small wave. She waved back, then drove away. Evan stood in the parking lot until her car disappeared, then walked slowly to his own rental. His phone buzzed. Mark, again. This time, Evan called. Finally, Mark answered. Dude, what is going on? Evan leaned against his car. Remember Alyssa? Your ex, the pilot? Yeah, of course. She was on my flight this morning. No way, that's insane. Did you guys talk? Yeah. Evan closed his eyes. Mark, she has a son. A 4-year-old son. Oh, wow, wait. Mark's voice changed. 4 years old? Yeah. And you guys broke up 4 years ago? Yeah. Silence on the other end. Then, holy shit. Evan, is he mine? Yes. Oh my God. She sent me a letter, Evan said. The story spilled out. The missed letter, the lost years, the chance meeting on the plane. By the time he finished, his voice was hoarse. Mark whistled low. I don't even know what to say, man. How are you holding up? I don't know. I met him today. His name is Noah. He's perfect, Mark. And I missed everything. But you're there now. For how long? I'm supposed to be here for a week for work. Then what? I go back to Atlanta and see him on holidays. That's not being a father. So don't go back. Evan blinked. What? Don't go back, Mark repeated. Or at least, not permanently. You're a civil engineer, dude. You can work anywhere. Transfer to a Colorado project. Find a firm out there. Hell, go freelance if you have to. That's crazy. Is it? You just found out you have a kid you want to be in the life of. That doesn't happen from 1,000 miles away. Evan's mind raced. Could he do that? Uproot his entire life? Leave Atlanta, his job, his apartment? But what was any of that compared to Noah? I need to think, Evan said. Think fast. You've already lost 4 years. Thanks for the reminder. Sorry. But seriously, man, this is huge. Whatever you need, a place to crash, someone to talk to, references for Colorado jobs, I've got you. Thanks, Mark. Call me tomorrow. Let me know how it goes. Will do. Evan hung up and sat in his car, staring at nothing. Don't go back, the words echoed in his head. Could he really do it? Leave everything behind to be near a son he'd just met? Yes, his heart answered immediately. Yes. But his head knew it wasn't that simple. Alyssa had built a life without him. She'd learned to be a single mother, found her own rhythm, created routines that worked. He couldn't just crash into that world and expect her to make room. Could he? His phone buzzed, a text from Alyssa. Thanks for today. Noah can't stop talking about you. Evan's heart swelled. He typed back, thank you for letting me meet him. See you tomorrow. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, yeah, tomorrow. Evan drove back to his hotel in a daze. He walked past the front desk, into the elevator, down the hall to his room. Everything felt surreal. This morning, he'd been a single guy with a straightforward life. Now, he was a father. The word still didn't feel real. Father, dad, daddy. That last one hit him hardest, because Noah had asked about his daddy, had wondered where he was, had been told, maybe someday. Well, someday was now. Evan pulled out his laptop and opened a job search site. He typed in Civil Engineering Colorado and stared at the results. Mark was right. He could work anywhere. The question wasn't whether he could make it work logistically. The question was whether Alyssa would let him. Evan barely slept. He spent half the night researching engineering firms in Denver, the other half staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment with Noah. The way the boy had laughed, the trust in his small hand, those green eyes that mirrored Evan's own. By morning, he'd made a decision. He called his boss at 7 a.m. Atlanta time. Evan, everything okay? David sounded concerned. You're supposed to be in Colorado on the Richardson project. I know. I'm here. But David, I need to talk to you about something. Shoot. Evan took a breath. I need to request a transfer, permanently, to Colorado. Silence. Then, this is sudden. What's going on? Personal situation. Family matter. I can't explain everything right now, but I need to be in Denver long term. More silence. Evan could practically hear David thinking through the implications. The Richardson project runs another 6 months. After that, we don't have anything lined up in Colorado. I understand. If you can't make it work, I'll have to resign. Whoa, hold on. Let's not jump to that. You're one of my best engineers. David sighed. Give me 48 hours. Let me see what I can do. Maybe we can find something or at least extend the Richardson timeline. Relief flooded through Evan. Thank you, I really appreciate it. Just promise me this isn't about a woman. Evan almost laughed. It's about my son. I didn't know you had a son. Neither did I. Until yesterday. Another long pause. Okay, that's definitely a family matter. I'll make some calls. After he hung up, Evan sat on the edge of his hotel bed, hands shaking slightly. He'd just potentially sacrificed his career. But the alternative, going back to Atlanta and being an absent father, wasn't an option. Noah deserved better than that. At 2:30, Evan's phone buzzed with Alyssa's address. He'd already showered and changed 3 times, unable to decide what to wear. Eventually he settled on jeans and a simple grey button-down, casual but respectful, meeting the family appropriate. The drive took 15 minutes. Alyssa's apartment complex was nice, not fancy, but well-maintained. Trees lined the parking lot. A playground sat in the center courtyard. Evan found her unit number and stood outside the door, heart pounding. Through the thin walls, he could hear Noah's voice, high and excited, then a woman's voice, older, measured, Alyssa's mother. He knocked before he could lose his nerve. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Alyssa stood there wearing leggings and an oversized sweatshirt, her hair in a messy bun. She looked tired but beautiful. Hi, come in. Evan stepped inside. The apartment was small but cozy. Pictures covered the walls, mostly of Noah at various ages, a few of Alyssa in her pilot uniform. One of an older couple Evan assumed were her parents. Evan! Noah came running from a back room, clutching a toy airplane in each hand. You came, I have so many planes to show you. I can't wait to see them, Evan said, crouching down. Noah, give him a second to breathe. Alyssa smiled, despite her words. Why don't you set up your airport in the living room? We'll be right there. Okay. Noah raced off. Alyssa lowered her voice. My mum's in the kitchen. Fair warning. She's protective, and she has a lot of questions. I figured. Just be honest with her. She can tell when people are lying. Evan nodded. His mouth had gone dry. They walked into the kitchen. A woman in her mid-50s stood at the counter, cutting vegetables. She had Alyssa's eyes and the same determined set to her jaw. When she saw Evan, she set down her knife and turned to face him fully. Mum, this is Evan. Evan, this is my mother, Jill Carter. Mrs. Carter. Evan extended his hand. It's good to meet you. Jill looked at his hand for a moment before shaking it. Her grip was firm. Evan Marshall, I've heard about you. I imagine you have. Alyssa told me what happened. The letter, the timing. Jill's expression remained neutral. Bad luck all around. Yes, ma'am. My daughter raised that boy on her own for 4 years. Do you understand what that means? The sacrifice, the exhaustion? Mom, Alyssa started. I'm just making sure he understands, Jill said. Her eyes never left Evan's face. She worked full-time, went to school, got her certifications, all while taking care of a baby. There were nights she called me crying because she didn't think she could do it. But she did, because that's the kind of mother she is. I know, Evan said quietly, and I'm grateful she's such a good mother. But Mrs. Carter, if I'd known about Noah, I would have been there. I would have helped with the night feedings and the doctor's appointments and everything else. I didn't get that choice. Jill studied him. What are your intentions now? Mom, this isn't an interrogation. I want to be in Noah's life, Evan said. Whatever that looks like. I know I can't make up for the lost time, but I can be present from now on. You live in Atlanta. I'm working on that. Jill's eyebrows rose. Meaning? Meaning I've already talked to my boss about transferring here, permanently. Alyssa's head snapped toward him. You did what? I can't be Noah's father from 1,000 miles away, Evan said, meeting her eyes. So I'm not going to be 1,000 miles away. Evan, you can't just uproot your life. Why not? You've been doing everything alone for 4 years. The least I can do is be in the same city. Silence filled the kitchen. Alyssa looked stunned. Jill's expression had softened slightly, though she still watched Evan carefully. That's a big decision, Jill said finally. It's the right decision. For who? You or Noah? For all of us, I hope. Evan turned back to Jill. Mrs. Carter, I can't change the past. I wish I could, but I can show up now. I can be the father Noah deserves, if you and Alyssa give me the chance. Jill picked up her knife and resumed cutting vegetables. For a moment, Evan thought that was her answer, a silent dismissal. Then she said, Noah's been asking about his father more lately, especially since he started preschool and saw other kids with their dads. It breaks my heart every time. Mine too, Alyssa said softly. If you're serious about this, Jill continued, still focused on her cutting board, then you need to understand something. That boy is the center of our world. If you hurt him, if you promise to be there and then disappear, I will never forgive you. And neither will Alyssa. I understand. Do you? Jill finally looked up. Because it's easy to make promises in the beginning, when everything is new and exciting. But parenting is hard. It's exhausting. It's showing up even when you're tired, even when you'd rather be doing something else. Can you do that? Yes. How do you know? Because I've already missed 4 years, Evan said, his voice roughened. Every birthday, every Christmas, every time he learned something new. I can't get those back, but I'm not missing anything else. Not if I can help it. Jill held his gaze for a long moment. Then she nodded once. Okay, okay? I'm not saying I trust you yet. Trust is earned. But I'm saying I won't stand in your way. If Alyssa thinks this is right for Noah, then I'll support it. She pointed her knife at him, not threateningly but firmly. But I'm watching, understand? Yes, ma'am. Good. Now go look at those toy airplanes before Noah comes in here and drags you out himself. Evan glanced at Alyssa. She still looked shell-shocked, but she managed a small nod toward the living room. He found Noah on the floor, surrounded by at least 20 toy planes of various sizes. He'd arranged them in neat rows, creating what looked like an airport terminal. This is my airport, Noah announced proudly. See, these are the big planes that go far away. These are the small planes. And this one, he held up a battered plastic fighter jet. This is my favorite. Grandma gave it to me for my birthday. Evan sat down on the floor beside him. That's a great collection. Which one flies the fastest? Noah's eyes lit up. Well, the jets are fastest, but Mama says the big planes are better because more people fit inside. He launched into a detailed explanation of airplane hierarchy, according to a 4-year-old's logic. Evan listened, genuinely fascinated by the way Noah's mind worked, categorizing, comparing, creating elaborate stories for each aircraft. Alyssa appeared in the doorway, leaning against the frame, watching them. When Evan caught her eye, something passed between them. Not quite forgiveness, not quite trust, but something softer than the fear that had been there before. Maybe hope. Evan, can you help me fix this one? Noah held up a plane with a broken wing. The wing came off, and now it can't fly right. Let me see. Evan examined the toy. The wing had snapped at the joint. I think we can fix this. Do you have any tape? Mama has the good tape, the kind that sticks really well. I'll get it, Alyssa said. She returned with clear packing tape. Evan carefully reattached the wing, wrapping the joint several times to reinforce it. Noah watched intently, his small face serious with concentration. There, Evan handed it back. Try it now. Noah held the plane up and zoomed it through the air. The wing held. His face broke into a huge grin. You fixed it. Mama, look, Evan fixed my plane. I see that, baby. That's great. Can you fix all my broken toys? Alyssa laughed. Noah, Evan's not a toy repair service. But he's good at it. I don't mind, Evan said. If you have other broken toys, I can take a look. Noah scrambled up and ran to his room. They heard drawers opening, things being moved around. He returned with an armful of toys in various states of disrepair. A car missing a wheel, a puzzle with bent pieces, a stuffed dinosaur with a torn tail. Oh, Noah, Alyssa sighed. You don't have to fix all of those today, Evan. It's okay. Really. Evan picked up the car. This one's easy. The wheel just popped off. See? He pressed it back into place. It clicked and held. Noah's eyes went wide. Mama's been telling me it's too broken to fix. I said we'd have to throw it away if I couldn't fix it, Alyssa corrected, which is different. For the next half hour, Evan worked through Noah's pile of broken toys. Some were easy fixes, others required more creativity, like using a rubber band to reattach the dinosaur's tail. Noah sat beside him the entire time, asking questions, handing him things, completely absorbed. Alyssa eventually sat down too, cross-legged on the other side of Noah. The three of them formed a small circle on the living room floor working together. It felt natural, right, like family. Okay, buddy, Alyssa said eventually. We need to think about dinner soon, and Evan probably has other things to do. No, I don't, Evan said automatically. Then he caught himself. I mean, unless you want me to go... Can Evan stay for dinner? Noah asked. Please, Mama, please. Alyssa bit her lip. Evan might have plans. I don't, he said again. If you're okay with it, I'd love to stay. She looked at him for a long moment. He could see her weighing the decision. Every time he stayed longer, every moment they spent together, it got more complicated. Noah would get more attached. The boundaries would blur further. But she'd also see him with Noah, see that he meant what he said about showing up. Okay, she said finally, but fair warning, it's just spaghetti. Nothing fancy. Spaghetti sounds perfect. Dinner was chaotic in the way meals with small children always are. Noah talked non-stop, frequently getting distracted from eating by whatever story he was telling. Jill asked Evan questions about his work, his family, his life in Atlanta, casual on the surface but clearly still evaluating him. Evan answered honestly. He talked about growing up in Georgia, his parents who still lived there, his younger sister who was a teacher. He explained his job in simple terms when Noah asked what a civil engineer did. "So you build things," Noah said, twirling spaghetti on his fork with mixed success. "Sort of. I help make sure buildings and bridges are safe and strong." "That's cool. Do you build airplane buildings like where planes live?" Evan smiled. "Sometimes. Those are called hangars. And yes, I've worked on a few of those." "Whoa." Noah's eyes went huge. "That's so cool." After dinner, Alyssa started cleaning up. Evan immediately stood to help, gathering plates. Jill watched with approval. "You don't have to," Alyssa started. "I want to," Evan said. They worked side by side at the sink, Alyssa washing and Evan drying. Noah played with his newly repaired toys in the living room. Jill had retreated to her own apartment in the same complex, but not before giving Evan one more long, evaluating look. "She likes you," Alyssa said quietly, despite the interrogation. "How can you tell? She wouldn't have left if she didn't. She'd have stayed to supervise." Evan dried another plate. "What about you? What about me? Do you—" He trailed off, not sure how to ask what he wanted to know. "Are you okay with me being here? Really?" Alyssa was quiet for a moment, her hands still in the soapy water. "I don't know yet. This is all happening so fast. Yesterday morning you didn't know Noah existed. Now you're having dinner with us, and fixing his toys and talking about moving to Denver. Is it too fast?" "Maybe. Probably." She pulled the plug and watched the water drain. "But I also see how happy Noah is with you here, and that matters more than my comfort level. Your comfort matters too, Alyssa." She turned to face him, drying her hands on a towel. "You really talked to your boss about transferring?" "This morning. He's looking into it. What if he can't make it work? Then I'll find another job or go freelance. I'll figure something out." "That's crazy, Evan. You can't just—" "Why do you keep saying that?" His voice rose slightly, then he caught himself and lowered it. "Why is it so hard to believe that I want to be here, that I want to be Noah's father?" "Because people leave," Alyssa said. The words came out sharp and immediate, like they'd been waiting just beneath the surface. "They promise they'll stay and then they leave, and I've been preparing Noah for that his whole life, preparing myself for it. I'm not going to leave. You say that now. Alyssa," he took a step closer, "I know I can't prove it to you with words. I have to show you, and that's going to take time, but I'm asking you to give me that time. Let me show you that I mean what I say." She looked up at him. They were close now, close enough that he could see the exhaustion in her eyes. The fear, the tiny, fragile hope she was trying not to let herself feel. "Okay," she whispered. "But slowly, we go slowly. As slow as you need." "Mama!" Noah called from the living room. "It's almost bedtime." Alyssa glanced at the clock and winced. "You're right, baby. Go brush your teeth." "Will you read me a story?" Noah asked. Then his gaze swiveled to Evan. "Will both of you read me a story?" Alyssa hesitated. "If your mama says it's okay," Evan said carefully. Noah looked at Alyssa with those big green eyes, the same ones that had convinced her to buy him ice cream for breakfast more than once, Evan suspected. "Okay," Alyssa said, "but just one story. You already stayed up late last night." "Yes!" Noah pumped his fist and ran toward the bathroom. Alyssa met Evan's eyes. "This is a big deal. Reading bedtime stories. That's—" "I know." Evan's throat felt tight. "Are you sure?" "No, but I'm doing it anyway." Noah's room was small but filled with personality. Airplane posters covered the walls. Glow-in-the-dark stars dotted the ceiling. A bookshelf overflowed with picture books and some beginning readers. Noah, now in pajamas covered with cartoon clouds, climbed into bed clutching a well-worn stuffed animal that might have been a dog at some point, but was now mostly loved into abstraction. "What are we reading tonight?" Alyssa asked, sitting on the edge of the bed. "This one." Noah pulled out a book about a plane that was afraid to fly. Evan sat in the small chair beside the bed, feeling too big for the furniture, but not caring. Alyssa opened the book and began to read, her voice taking on different characters for the brave pilot and the nervous plane. Noah listened intently, occasionally reaching out to point at a picture or add commentary. Halfway through, his eyes started to droop. When Alyssa finished, Noah's voice was sleepy. That was good. "Mama, will you sing the song?" "What song?" Evan asked. "We have a bedtime song," Alyssa said, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "It's silly." "It's not silly," Noah protested. "It's the best song." Alyssa began to hum softly, then sing, a simple melody about stars and dreams and flying. Her voice was beautiful, clear and warm. Noah's eyes drifted closed. Evan watched them, his heart so full it hurt. This was what he'd missed. These quiet moments. The routines that made up a childhood. The songs and stories and stuffed animals that meant the world to a little boy. When Alyssa finished, Noah was almost asleep. She leaned down and kissed his forehead. "Good night, baby." "Night, Mama." Then, without opening his eyes, "Night, Evan." "Good night, Noah." They slipped out of the room, leaving the door cracked. The glow-in-the-dark stars were already starting to shine. In the living room, the silence felt heavy, significant. "Thank you," Evan said, "for letting me be part of that." "He wanted you there." Alyssa wrapped her arms around herself. "I could have said no, but he wanted you there. He's amazing, Alyssa. You've done such an incredible job with him. I had help. My mom, my friends, other pilots who let me vent during layovers." She smiled sadly. "But yeah, we did okay. Better than okay." They stood in the middle of the living room, neither quite ready to say goodnight, but unsure what else to say. Finally, Evan spoke. "I should probably go. Let you get some rest." "Yeah, okay." He moved toward the door, then paused. "Can I see him again tomorrow? I have a late shift tomorrow. I won't be back until after his bedtime." "What about the day after?" Alyssa nodded slowly. "The day after. I'm off. Maybe we could do something together, the three of us. I'd really like that." At the door, Alyssa reached out and caught his hand. The touch sent electricity through him. "Evan?" "Yeah? Thank you. For not giving up. For being here. There's nowhere else I'd rather be." She squeezed his hand once, then let go. "Good night." "Good night, Alyssa." Evan walked to his car in a daze. He sat behind the wheel for a long moment before starting the engine, replaying the evening over and over. Noah's laughter. Alyssa's song. The feeling of belonging somewhere he'd never expected to belong. His phone buzzed. A text from Alyssa. He just called out from his room. "Said he forgot to tell you something." "What?" Evan typed back. "He said to tell you he's glad you came and he hopes you come back soon." Evan's vision blurred. He blinked hard and typed, "Tell him I'll definitely come back, as many times as he wants." 3 dots appeared. Then, "Be careful. He's going to hold you to that." "Good. I want him to." The dots appeared and disappeared several times. Finally, "Get some rest. You look exhausted." Evan smiled. "So do you. Hazard of single parenthood. Maybe not single for much longer." He sent it before he could second-guess himself, then immediately wondered if he'd gone too far. But Alyssa's response came quickly. "One day at a time, remember. We're going slow, right? Slow. I can do slow. Can you?" Evan thought about the past 24 hours. Meeting Noah, fixing toys, reading bedtime stories, feeling like part of something real for the first time in 4 years. "Honestly, it's going to be hard. But for you and Noah, I'll try. That's all I'm asking." Evan drove back to his hotel with hope blooming in his chest for the first time since he'd boarded that plane yesterday morning. He had a son, and maybe, just maybe, he had a chance at the family he'd never known he wanted. The next 2 weeks fell into a rhythm that felt both natural and impossibly fragile. Evan saw Noah almost every day, sometimes just for an hour or two, sometimes for entire afternoons when Alyssa had time off. They went to parks. They built elaborate structures with building blocks. They watched airplanes take off from a spot near the airport where Noah pressed his face against the fence and narrated every departure. And slowly, carefully, Evan learned what it meant to be a father. He learned that Noah didn't like his sandwich crusts cut off. He wanted them on but refused to eat them. That he had a particular stuffed elephant named Peanut who had to be positioned just right at bedtime or Noah couldn't sleep. That he asked why approximately 600 times a day and actually wanted real answers. He also learned about Alyssa all over again. She was even stronger than he remembered. Watching her juggle flight schedules and parenting, and the exhaustion that came with both showed him exactly what she'd survived these past 4 years. She moved through her days with quiet determination, always putting Noah first, rarely complaining even when Evan could see how tired she was. But she was also scared. He saw it in the way she watched him with Noah, like she was waiting for him to fail, to prove her fears right, to disappear. He was determined not to give her that satisfaction. His boss called on Thursday with news. "I found something. Richardson project can extend 8 months if we need it. After that, there's an airport expansion in Colorado Springs that's looking for a lead engineer. It's yours if you want it." "I want it," Evan said immediately. "It means 2 years minimum in Colorado. Maybe longer if the project expands." "That's perfect." "Evan, I have to ask, you're sure about this? You've built your whole career in Atlanta." I'm sure, Evan said. This is where I need to be. After he hung up, he sat in his hotel room, feeling lighter than he had in years. He had a plan. He could stay. He could be the father Noah deserved, and the man Alyssa needed him to be. He texted Alyssa immediately. Good news. I can stay in Colorado long term. Work found projects that'll keep me here at least 2 years. Her response took a few minutes. Wow. Are you sure that's what you want? Completely sure. This is where my family is. The 3 dots appeared and disappeared several times before her response came. We should talk about that. About what this means. Tomorrow? After you're off work? Tomorrow. Mum can watch Noah for a few hours. That night, Evan couldn't sleep again. But this time, it wasn't from shock or grief. It was anticipation, hope, the feeling that maybe, finally, things were falling into place. They met at a coffee shop halfway between Alyssa's apartment and Evan's hotel. It was quiet, tucked into a corner strip mall, the kind of place locals loved, but tourists never found. Alyssa arrived 5 minutes after him, wearing jeans and a soft green sweater that brought out the gold in her brown eyes. Her hair was down, falling in loose waves past her shoulders. She looked beautiful. She'd always looked beautiful. Hi, she said, sliding into the seat across from him. Hi, I got you a latte. Vanilla, 2 pumps, extra foam. Unless your order changed. A small smile touched her lips. It hasn't changed. They sat for a moment, sipping their drinks. The silence comfortable, but weighted with everything they needed to say. So, Alyssa began, you're really staying. I'm really staying. For 2 years. At least. She traced the rim of her cup with one finger. Evan, I need you to understand something. Noah is starting to get attached to you, really attached. When you're not around, he asks about you. When you are around, he lights up. And that's wonderful, but it's also terrifying. Why? Because what if this doesn't work? What if you stay for a few months and realize this isn't what you want? What if you meet someone else and decide you don't want to be tied to your ex and her kid? Our kid, Evan corrected gently. And Alyssa, I'm not going anywhere. How many times do I have to say that before you believe me? I don't know. Her voice was small. Maybe I'm just waiting for the other shoe to drop. That's what I've been doing for 4 years. Protecting myself. Protecting Noah. Building walls so we'd be okay when people left. What people left? She was quiet for a moment. After you and I broke up, I dated someone briefly. Before I knew I was pregnant. He seemed nice. Said he wanted something serious. Then I told him I was pregnant with my ex's baby. And he was gone within a week. Evan's jaw clenched. Alyssa, and then there were friends who said they'd help but disappeared when it got hard. My dad, she stopped, her voice catching. My dad passed away when Noah was 2, heart attack. He was there one day and gone the next. So yeah, I have a hard time believing people when they say they're staying. Evan reached across the table and took her hand. She didn't pull away. I'm sorry. For all of it. And I can't promise that nothing bad will ever happen, but I can promise that I'm choosing to be here. Every day. That's a choice I'm making. What if it gets hard? Then it gets hard. I'll still be here. What if Noah has a tantrum and screams that he hates you? Then I'll wait it out and still be here. What if I have a breakdown and push you away? Then I'll give you space and still be here. Alyssa's eyes glistened. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Not easy, but simple. I love that kid, Alyssa. I know I've only known him 2 weeks, but I love him, and He stopped, the words catching in his throat. And what? He took a breath. This was the moment. The truth he'd been dancing around since he'd seen her in that cockpit. And I never stopped loving you. Alyssa's breath hitched. Evan, I know. It's too soon to say that. We've been apart for 4 years. We're different people now. But it's the truth. I loved you 4 years ago. I grieved losing you. And now that you're back in my life, all those feelings came flooding back like they never left. That's not fair, she whispered. I know. I'm sorry. But you wanted honesty. She pulled her hand back and wrapped both arms around herself. I can't think about us right now. There's too much to figure out with Noah first. How we co-parent. How we tell him you're his father. How we build routines and boundaries, and I understand. Do you? Because I need you to really understand. Noah comes first. Before you, before me. Before whatever feelings we might or might not have for each other. I wouldn't want it any other way, Evan said. He should come first. He's the most important person in this whole situation. Alyssa studied him for a long moment. Okay, then we need to have some serious conversations about what happens next. I'm listening. She pulled out her phone and opened the Notes app. Evan almost smiled. She'd always been a list maker. Some things never changed. First, she said, We need to tell Noah the truth, that you're his father. Evan's heart jumped. When? Soon. He's already asking questions about why you're around so much, and it's not fair to keep lying to him. How do we do it? What do we say? I've been researching. Alyssa scrolled through her notes. Age-appropriate ways to explain complex family situations to preschoolers. The basic advice is to keep it simple. Tell him the truth in terms he can understand. Let him ask questions and make sure he knows nothing is his fault and everyone loves him. That last part is definitely true. Second, Alyssa continued, we need to establish a routine. If you're going to be in his life, it can't be random. Kids need consistency. What are you thinking? Maybe 3 days a week to start? And you come to our place so Noah's in his familiar environment. As he gets more comfortable, we can add overnights at your place. Once you have a place that's not a hotel. I've been looking at apartments, Evan said. Nothing permanent until I know the Richardson project timeline for sure, but I'm thinking something nearby, so Noah can walk between our places when he's older. Alyssa nodded, making notes. Third, we need to talk about my mum. She's been Noah's primary support besides me. She needs to be part of this conversation too. Does she still not trust me? She's getting there, but Evan, she gave up a lot to help me with Noah. She retired early so she could provide childcare. She changed her whole life, and now you're here, and that changes things again. I don't want to take her place, Evan said quickly. She's his grandmother. That's irreplaceable. I want to work with her, not against her. That's what I hoped you'd say. They talked for another hour, working through logistics and concerns and questions neither of them had answers to yet. By the end, Alyssa's notes app was full and Evan's coffee was cold, but they had the outline of a plan. One more thing, Alyssa said as they stood to leave. I need you to promise me something. Anything. If this ever becomes too much, if the reality of parenting hits you and you realize it's not what you signed up for, I need you to be honest. Don't stay out of guilt or obligation. Noah deserves better than that. Evan stepped closer. I'm not going to change my mind, Alyssa. But if it makes you feel better, I promise. Complete honesty. Always. She looked up at him, and for a moment, the years fell away. They were just Evan and Alyssa again, standing close enough to touch, the air between them charged with everything they'd been and everything they could be. Then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it and stepped back. That's Mom. Noah's asking when I'm coming home. Go, we can talk more tomorrow. Tomorrow, she agreed. And Evan, thank you for taking this seriously, for not making it harder than it has to be. We're in this together now, for Noah. She nodded and turned to leave, then paused. For what it's worth, I'm glad you're staying. Before he could respond, she was gone. They told Noah on Saturday morning. Evan arrived at 9, his stomach in knots. Jill was there too, sitting on the couch with her arms crossed. She'd softened toward him over the past 2 weeks, but this was different. This was the moment everything became real. Noah was playing with blocks on the floor, building what he claimed was the biggest airport ever. He looked up when Evan entered and grinned. Evan, look what I made. That's incredible, buddy. Very impressive. Noah, can you come sit with Mama for a minute? Alyssa patted the spot beside her on the couch. We need to talk about something important. Noah's smile faltered. Am I in trouble? No, baby, not at all. This is good news. Come here. Noah climbed up beside Alyssa, suddenly uncertain. Evan sat in the chair across from them, his heart hammering. Alyssa took Noah's hand. Noah, do you remember how you've been asking about your daddy? About where he is? Noah nodded, his green eyes wide. Well, Alyssa said carefully, I have something to tell you. Your daddy didn't go away because he didn't love you. He went away because I didn't know how to tell him about you, and that was a mistake. But now he's here. Noah looked confused. Where? Alyssa glanced at Evan, then back at Noah. Honey, Evan is your daddy. Silence. Noah looked at Evan, then at Alyssa, then back at Evan. His small face scrunched up in concentration, trying to process what he'd just heard. Evan is my daddy, he said slowly. Yes, Alyssa said. He's been away because Mama made a mistake, but he's here now, and he loves you very much. He always has, even when he didn't know about you. Noah stared at Evan. You're my daddy? Evan's throat was too tight to speak. He nodded. How come you didn't come before? Because I didn't know about you, Evan managed. Your mama tried to tell me, but the message got lost. And I'm so sorry I wasn't here sooner. But I'm here now, and I'm not going anywhere. Noah thought about this. So you're staying? Yes, forever, forever. Noah's face crumpled. For a heart-stopping moment, Evan thought he'd cry, thought he'd reject the whole idea. Then Noah slid off the couch and walked over to Evan. He climbed into his lap and wrapped his small arms around Evan's neck. "I'm glad you're my daddy," he whispered. "I always wanted a daddy." Evan's composure shattered. He hugged Noah tight, tears streaming down his face. "I always wanted to be your daddy. From the moment I found out about you." Alyssa was crying too, covering her mouth with her hand. Even Jill had tears in her eyes. They stayed like that for a long moment, father and son, holding each other for the first time, with the truth finally between them. When Noah pulled back, he looked at Evan seriously. "Can I call you Daddy now instead of Evan?" "I would love that," Evan said, his voice breaking. "I would love that so much." "Okay, Daddy." Noah smiled, then hopped down and ran back to his blocks. "Daddy, come help me build. I need help with the tower part." Just like that, the world shifted. Evan was no longer Mama's friend. He was Daddy. He looked at Alyssa. She was smiling through her tears, nodding permission. Evan got down on the floor with Noah and started building. The next few weeks transformed everything. Noah called him Daddy constantly, sometimes just to hear himself say it. Evan moved into a furnished apartment 10 minutes from Alyssa's place and started accumulating all the things a part-time parent needed: toys, books, a toddler bed for when Noah was ready for overnights. They established routines. Evan picked Noah up from preschool on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. They'd go to the park or get ice cream, or just hang out at Evan's place building things and watching cartoons. On weekends, they did things as a trio: Alyssa, Evan, and Noah. Zoo trips, movies, grocery shopping, which somehow became an adventure when Noah insisted on helping pick out vegetables. Jill watched it all with a careful eye, but Evan could feel her approval growing. One night, when he brought Noah home after an afternoon at the Children's Museum, she pulled him aside. "You're doing good," she said simply. "He's happy, really happy." "Thank you, Mrs. Carter. That means a lot. Call me Jill. If you're going to be around, and it looks like you are, we might as well be on a first-name basis." It felt like a benediction. But as Evan settled into fatherhood, he couldn't ignore the other things simmering beneath the surface. The thing he and Alyssa carefully didn't talk about. The way his heart jumped when she laughed. The way she blushed when their hands accidentally touched while reaching for Noah's toys. The way they'd catch each other's eyes across a room and hold the gaze a second too long. They were co-parenting successfully, building trust, becoming a team, but they weren't together, and Evan didn't know if they ever would be. Everything shifted one evening in late October. Alyssa had a short regional flight, just 2 hours there and back. Evan picked Noah up from Jill's and brought him back to Alyssa's apartment to wait for her return. They were reading books on the couch when Alyssa's key turned in the lock. She walked in looking exhausted, still in her uniform, hair pulled back in a tight bun. "Mama!" Noah scrambled off the couch and ran to her. "Hi, baby!" She scooped him up and kissed his forehead, but Evan could see the tension in her shoulders. "Rough flight?" he asked. "Long day." She set Noah down. "Baby, can you go play in your room for a few minutes? Mama needs to talk to Daddy." Noah looked between them, sensing something, but he nodded and ran off. Alyssa collapsed onto the couch. "We had a warning light mid-flight. Nothing serious, just a sensor malfunction, but it triggered all the protocols. And then there was weather coming in, so we had to hold for 20 minutes before landing. And then the passenger in 7B got airsick all over the cabin and..." She pressed her hands to her face. "I'm just tired." "When's the last time you had a day off?" "I don't remember." "Alyssa, I know, but I'm building seniority, proving I can handle the difficult routes. It matters for promotions down the line." Evan moved closer. "You can't pour from an empty cup." Spoken like someone who hasn't had to be a single parent for 4 years, the words came out sharp. She winced immediately. "I'm sorry, that wasn't fair." "It's okay. It's not okay." She looked at him, and her eyes were red. "I'm exhausted, Evan. I've been exhausted for years. And I thought I was handling it, but now you're here and I see what it's like to have help and I realize how hard it's been. And I'm angry about that. Which isn't fair to you because you didn't know, but I'm still angry." "Then be angry," Evan said. "You've earned the right to be angry." "Have I?" "Yes. You've been doing this alone, running yourself into the ground trying to be everything for Noah. That's not sustainable, and you shouldn't have had to do it." Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I'm so tired." "I know, and I'm scared." "Of what?" "Of letting myself need you," she whispered. "Of letting Noah need you too much. Of building something that could fall apart." Evan took her hands. I can't promise we won't have hard days, or that we won't mess up. But I can promise I'm not leaving. I'm here, Alyssa, for Noah, and—" he took a breath, "for you, Evan. I know you said we're focusing on Noah first, and we are. But I can't keep pretending I don't still have feelings for you, that watching you be an amazing mother doesn't make me fall for you all over again. This is complicated, I know. We have a child together. We have to make that work no matter what happens between us. I know that too." She looked at their joined hands. "What if we try this and it doesn't work? What if we end up hating each other? What if we don't?" Alyssa laughed, a broken sound. "That's a terrible argument. It's the only argument I have." Evan squeezed her hands gently. "I'm not asking you to jump into anything. I'm just asking you to consider the possibility that maybe we could have something good." She was quiet for a long moment. Then, "I need time. Take all the time you need. But Evan, I need you to know something." "What?" "I never stopped loving you either." The admission came out so quietly, he almost missed it. "I tried. God, I tried. But you were always there in the back of my mind. Every time Noah smiled and I saw your eyes, every time someone asked about his father and I had to lie, you were always there." Evan's heart stuttered. "Alyssa, but loving someone and being able to trust them are different things. I need to know I can trust you, really trust you. Not just with Noah, but with my heart. How do I prove that?" "Time," she said again. "Just keep showing up. Keep being consistent. Keep being you." "I can do that." She looked up at him, and something had shifted in her eyes. Not quite hope, but not fear either. Something in between. Something like possibility. "Okay," she said. "Then let's see what happens." Before Evan could respond, Noah appeared in the doorway. "Are you done talking? I want to show Mama my new drawing." Alyssa wiped her eyes quickly and smiled. "Show me, baby." As Noah ran back to get his artwork, Evan and Alyssa sat side by side on the couch. Their hands were still loosely linked between them. Neither of them let go. A month passed, then another. The days grew shorter as November turned into December. Denver got its first real snow, and Noah lost his mind with excitement. Evan and Alyssa took him to the park to build a snowman, and the resulting creation looked more like a snow blob, but Noah insisted it was perfect. Evan spent Thanksgiving with Alyssa's family, just her, Noah, and Jill. It felt natural, right, like he'd always belonged there. On one particularly cold evening, Alyssa had an early morning flight the next day. Evan stayed late after putting Noah to bed, helping her prep her flight bag and meal prep for the week. "You don't have to do this," Alyssa said, watching him pack containers. "I'm capable of feeding myself. I know you are, but I'm here, and I want to help." She leaned against the counter, a soft smile on her face. "You're pretty good at this domestic stuff. I've had practice. And motivation." "Yeah? Yeah, turns out I really like taking care of the people I love." The words hung in the air. Alyssa didn't run from them this time. Instead, she crossed to him and stood close. "Evan? Yeah? Would you want to stay? Tonight, I mean. It's late and you have the early pickup tomorrow anyway." The couch pulls out into a bed. His heart raced. "Are you sure?" "No," she admitted. "But I'm asking anyway." He stayed. They talked late into the night, sitting on that pull-out couch, sharing stories from the years they'd missed. She told him about Noah's first steps, his first word, airplane naturally, all the tiny moments that had made up his childhood. Evan told her about the years he'd spent thinking about her, wondering if she was happy, hoping she'd found what she was looking for. "I did," she said softly, "but not the way I expected." "No? I thought being alone made me strong. Turns out letting someone help me makes me stronger." They fell asleep there on the couch, not quite touching but close enough to feel each other's warmth. When Evan woke in the morning, Alyssa was already up and dressed in her uniform. Moving quietly so as not to wake him, she noticed his eyes open and smiled. "Good morning," she whispered. "I'm heading out. Noah's still asleep. He'll probably wake up in about an hour." "Okay. Have a safe flight." She paused, then leaned down and kissed his forehead. "Thank you for everything." Before he could respond, she was gone. Evan lay there for a moment, the ghost of her kiss still warm on his skin, and let himself hope. 1 month passes, described in 2 bridging sentences. Over the next month, Evan became a steady presence in Noah's daily life, not just 3 days a week, but woven into their everyday routine. By the start of the next month, their routines felt natural and peaceful, like they'd always been a family. It was late January when everything finally came together. Alyssa had a training flight scheduled, a small scenic route over the Rockies, the kind of run pilots took to keep their certifications current. Noah had been begging to go up with her for weeks. "Please, Mama, please," he'd asked at breakfast that morning. "I promise I'll be good." Alyssa had looked at Evan, a silent question in her eyes. "I'll come too," Evan had offered, "if that's okay. Someone to wrangle this wild child while you focus on flying." She'd smiled, the real smile, the one that lit up her whole face. "I'd like that." Now, as they stood on the tarmac beside a small training aircraft, Noah bounced with barely contained excitement. "Daddy, look! Mama's plane is so cool." "It really is." Evan helped Noah into his seat, buckling him in carefully while Alyssa ran through her pre-flight checks. She climbed into the pilot's seat, confident and capable, completely in her element. Evan sat behind her with Noah strapped in beside him, pressed against the window so he could see everything. The engine roared to life. Noah's eyes went wide. "Here we go, buddy," Evan said, taking Noah's hand. The plane rolled down the runway, picking up speed. Then, with a gentle lift, they were airborne. Noah gasped, his face pressed to the glass as the ground fell away beneath them. "Mama, we're flying! We're really flying!" "Yes, we are, baby," Alyssa called back, joy in her voice. The mountains rose ahead of them, snow-capped and majestic in the afternoon sun. The sky stretched endless and blue. Denver sprawled below, a patchwork of streets and buildings and tiny lives being lived. Evan watched Alyssa pilot the plane with steady hands, her movements precise and confident. He watched Noah's face, lit up with pure wonder, and he felt something settle deep in his chest. This was his family, not perfect, not simple, but real, and his. Alyssa glanced back over her shoulder, catching his eye. "You okay back there?" "Better than okay," Evan said. "Yeah? Yeah. We made it through the storm, Alyssa. We made it." Her eyes glistened, but she was smiling. "We really did." Noah tugged on Evan's sleeve. "Daddy, look, I can see our building." "Where, buddy?" "There, the one with the red roof." As Noah pointed out landmarks, chattering excitedly, Alyssa flew them over the mountains. The plane handled the air current smoothly, rising and dipping gently. After a while, she brought them around in a wide arc, heading back toward the airport. The sun had begun its descent, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. "Best flight ever," Noah declared as they descended. Evan couldn't argue. The landing was smooth, perfect really. Alyssa taxied to their spot and shut down the engine. For a moment, they all just sat there, suspended in the perfect quiet that came after flight. Then Noah unbuckled himself and threw his arms around Evan's neck. "That was amazing. Can we do it again?" "Someday," Alyssa said, climbing out of the pilot's seat. She helped Noah out of the plane, then turned to Evan. "What did you think?" "I think you're incredible," he said honestly, "and I think Noah's going to be a pilot just like his mama." "I am," Noah agreed. "I'm going to fly planes and go everywhere, and—" He continued planning his future career as they walked across the tarmac toward the hangar. The evening air was cool, but the sun's last rays kept it from being cold. At the car, Noah climbed into his seat, still talking a mile a minute about everything he'd seen. Alyssa secured him and closed the door, then turned to Evan. They stood facing each other in the parking lot, the mountains behind them, the setting sun painting everything gold. "Thank you," Alyssa said, "for today, for everything, for not giving up on us." "I could never give up on you," Evan said. "Either of you." "I know, I finally really know that." She stepped closer. "Evan, I've been thinking." "About?" "About what you said. About us trying again. About the possibility of something good." His heart began to race. And I think," she bit her lip, that nervous gesture he'd always loved. "I think I'm ready, if you are, to try, not just for Noah, but for us." "Are you sure?" "No," she admitted with a laugh. "I'm terrified, but I'm also tired of being scared. And I'm tired of pretending I don't want this. Want you." Evan reached up and cupped her face in his hands. "I want this too. I want all of it. You, Noah, the chaos and the hard days and everything in between. It won't be easy. Nothing worth having is." She smiled through tears. "When did you get so wise?" "I had 4 years to think about what I'd say if I ever got this chance again. And I love you, Alyssa Carter. I loved you 4 years ago. I loved you when I didn't know where you were. And I love you now, maybe even more than before. Evan, you don't have to say it back. I just needed you to know." "But I want to say it back." She laughed, and it was the most beautiful sound he'd ever heard. "I love you too. I think I always have. Even when I was angry and hurt and trying to convince myself I didn't." He kissed her then, soft and sweet and full of promise. It felt like coming home. like finding something he'd lost and thought was gone forever. When they pulled apart, Noah was tapping on the car window. "Are you guys done talking? I'm hungry." They both laughed. "Come on," Alyssa said, taking Evan's hand. "Let's go home." "Home," Evan repeated. "I like the sound of that." They drove back as the sun set completely, the car filled with Noah's chatter and plans for their next adventure. Alyssa's hand found Evan's over the center console. He laced their fingers together and didn't let go. At the apartment, Jill was waiting with dinner already prepared. She took one look at their joined hands and smiled. "About time," was all she said. They ate together, all four of them, a family now officially and completely. Noah told Jill every detail of the flight, his words tumbling over each other in his excitement. Alyssa and Evan kept catching each other's eyes, smiling for no reason, except that they could. After dinner, Noah insisted on showing Grandma Jill the new model airplane Evan had bought him. While they played in the living room, Evan and Alyssa cleaned up the kitchen side by side. "So what happens now?" Evan asked, drying a plate. "Now," Alyssa considered. "Now we figure it out as we go. Build a life together. Make mistakes and fix them. Be a family. A real family. The realist." She set down her dish towel and turned to face him. "I know it took us a long time to get here. 4 years and a lost letter and a chance meeting on an airplane. But Evan, I think we were always heading toward this moment. We just took the long way around." "Sometimes the long way is worth it," Evan said, "because it makes you appreciate the destination." "Is that what this is? Our destination?" "No, this is our beginning." She smiled and kissed him again, and through the doorway, they could hear Noah's laughter mixing with Jill's, the sound of home and family, and everything they'd both been searching for without knowing it. Love hadn't disappeared. It had waited. And with courage, honesty, and second chances, they'd built something stronger than either of them could have built alone. A family. Their family. Finally, completely and forever theirs. The end.